John Leslie made over 300 adult films in his career, but only one turned him into a legend. That film was Talk Dirty to Me, released in 1980s, and it became one of the most commercially successful and critically acclaimed titles of the entire golden age. This wasn't just another mature feature cranked out for the grindhouse circuit. This was a film with real characters, authentic dialogue, and a story that actually mattered. Shot on 35mm with a budget tighter than a drum, it shattered expectations and redefined what adult cinema could be. So, what made this film so special? And how did director Anthony Spinelli and star John Leslie create something that still resonates over 40 years later? Let's dive into the making of Talk Dirty to Me. By 1980, John Leslie was already a fixture in the adult film world. Born John Leslie Nuzzo in Pittsburgh, he'd migrated to California in the early 70s and quickly established himself as one of the industry's most reliable leading men. But Leslie wasn't your typical performer. He had range. He could play romantic leads, comedic sidekicks, or brooding dramatic roles with equal conviction. In Talk Dirty to Me, he plays Jack, a married man stuck in a rut. His relationship with his wife has lost its spark. He's bored, restless, and looking for something to break the monotony. What makes Leslie's performance so effective is the restraint. He's not playing a fantasy, he's playing a real guy going through a real problem. That relatability was rare in genre cinema, and Leslie sold it completely. Opposite Leslie was Jessie St James as Jill, and if Leslie was the emotional anchor, St James was the beating heart. She'd only been in the industry a short time, but her screen presence was undeniable. St James brought vulnerability and authenticity to the role of a suburban wife, navigating desire, frustration, and the complications of long-term commitment. The chemistry between Leslie and St James is what makes the film work. You believe they're married, you understand why they fell for each other, and you feel the slow dissolution of their connection. If you've seen Talk Dirty to Me, drop a comment and let me know what you thought of their performances. Then there's Richard Pacheco, playing Jack's best friend, and this casting choice was genius. Pacheco was known for his comedic timing and everyman charm. His scenes with Leslie feel like two old friends actually talking. The banter is natural, the pauses are real. Pacheco understood that comedy works best when it's grounded, and his performance elevated every scene he was in. Rounding out the core cast was Juliet Anderson, and by this point, Anderson was already a legend. She'd entered the industry in her late 30s and owned it. Anderson exuded confidence, sophistication, and a lived-in sensuality that younger performers couldn't match. Her presence alone commanded attention, supporting players like Laurie and Dominique, Holly McCall, and John Seaman fill out the margins. And here's the thing, they're not just bodies filling space. These are character actors bringing professionalism to every scene. Spinelli cast people who could act, and then he let them act. That ensemble approach separated Talk Dirty to Me from the competition. For John Leslie, this film was a turning point. After Talk Dirty to Me, he became the leading man of the early 80s and later transitioned into directing, bringing the same attention to character and mood that Spinelli had championed. Behind the camera was Anthony Spinelli, a director who'd been working in adult cinema since the early 70s. Spinelli's real name was Sam Weston, and his approach to filmmaking was decidedly old school. He wanted narrative, subtext, movies that respected the audience's intelligence. Spinelli worked with cinematographer Jack Remy, and together they crafted a visual language that elevated the material. The film was shot on 35mm, and that choice alone set it apart. By 1980, many producers were cutting costs with inferior formats, but Spinelli insisted on film. He wanted depth, texture, richness. The lighting in Talk Dirty to Me is warm and naturalistic. Scenes are lit like a late 70s drama, not a cheap adult film. Remy's camera work is confident and purposeful, using depth of field to guide your eye and framing characters in ways that communicate their emotional states without dialogue. Most of the production took place around the San Francisco Bay Area, and the locations were critical to the film's success. Spinelli shot in real homes with real furniture, shag carpets, wood paneling, avocado green appliances. This was middle-class California in 1980s, and audiences recognized it immediately. The familiarity grounded the film in a reality that felt tangible. Here's something most people don't know. The script was credited to John Leslie himself under a pseudonym, though Spinelli likely had significant creative input. The dialogue sounds like real people talking. There's banter, awkward pauses, half-finished thoughts. Compare that to the stiff dialogue in most genre films of the era, and you immediately understand why this film stood out. One of the film's most iconic moments is the phone scene, where the title comes into play. It's not played for shock value. It's intimate, voyeuristic, and surprisingly tender. Spinelli frames it carefully, letting the performances carry the weight. There's restraint here, a trust in his actors that most directors wouldn't have had. But here's what really set Talk Dirty to Me apart. Spinelli filled the film with small moments that had nothing to do with the explicit content. A lingering glance between estranged spouses, a quiet breakfast where no one speaks, a character staring out a window, lost in thought. Most directors would cut these scenes, but Spinelli understood that these moments are what make a film resonate. They're what turn a product into art. Talk Dirty to Me hit theaters in 1980, right as the adult film industry was beginning its shift from theatrical exhibition to home video. The film played in urban cinemas across the country, and audiences responded. This wasn't just another title that came and went. Word of mouth spread. Commercially, it was a hit. When home video exploded in the early 80s, Talk Dirty to Me became a phenomenon. It was one of the tapes people actually bought and kept. Tens of thousands of copies sold through mail-order catalogs and independent video retailers. The film became a staple of the VHS era, a title that defined what the golden age represented: quality, ambition, craft. Critics within the industry took notice too. Talk Dirty to Me was nominated for multiple Adult Film Association of America awards and won several, including recognition for Spinelli's direction and Leslie's performance. Even mainstream critics acknowledged the film's narrative ambition and technical polish. What made Talk Dirty to Me resonate wasn't just the content, it was the context. Here was a film that assumed its audience wanted more than just visual stimulation. It assumed they wanted story, character, a reason to care. And when given that option, audiences showed up in droves. The success led to multiple sequels, though none quite captured the magic of the original. Still, the Talk Dirty to Me name became synonymous with quality adult entertainment. If you enjoyed this exploration of Golden Age cinema and retro film history, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss future videos. I've got deep dives coming on the opening of Misty Beethoven, the making of Taboo, and the untold story of Radley Metzger's adult film masterpieces. Check out my previous video on Debbie Does Dallas, where we explored another landmark film from this incredible era. Link is in the description and on screen right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.